This is one that's got me really excited. This is the JVC GY LS300. Now the 300 is just like the GY HM200, which is one I reviewed not very long ago, but the big difference is that the LS300 has interchangeable lenses, and that makes a big difference. So what JVC have here is they've basically got two cameras, GY HM200, which I would say is more of a news gathering camera, documentaries, and then if you want to do something a bit more cinematic, you go to the LS300, because that's one where you get the cinema look. Now I've been out and about, I've been doing a lot of testing of this, and let's start off by just looking at some pictures, because I can sit here and talk all day, and who really cares? As I've said many times before, you can say whatever you like about a camera, but it comes down to the images. And the images are what really impressed me. Now, you can see I've been all over and I've been using lots of different lenses, and really that's the fundamental difference that separates the two cameras, the HM200 and the LS300. I would actually go as far to say that the cameras are virtually identical. They feel the same in your hands, all the controls are in exactly the same place, and I actually think that's a great thing, because what it means is if you get to know one camera, you can pick up either camera and know where all the functions are. However, having the buttons in one place is one thing. The big deal is that this one has a super 35mm sensor, and as I already said, interchangeable lenses. So let's start by just showing what it looks like without any lens on. You can see that's not a big camera at all. Now I have here from MTF, courtesy of Mike Tapper, that's a micro 4/3 mount on one side going to Nikon F on the other. And being a big Nikon fan for many years, I can put any of my Nikon lenses on, and I love these because of the fact that I got an aperture ring. And I might love Canon lenses as well, but Canon, I need aperture rings. I know you make your Cinema EOS lenses, but they're really expensive. So that's why I'm using the Nikon lenses, because I can manually control what I'm dealing with here. And the results, as far as I'm concerned, are really quite stunning. This camera is one of a kind. Why is it so special? Because as far as I'm concerned, this is the smallest 4K full-blown professional camera on the market that has a super 35mm sensor and features interchangeable lenses. Now of course there's other small cameras out there that you can change the lenses on, and there's some fantastic options out there, but this one gives everything that I need for my work. Now my needs may not be the same as someone else's, however I must have the XLRs. I love the fact that all the switches are accessible. You can put in the gain, you can adjust your white balance, you can adjust your aperture, you've got ND filters, you've got all the controls exactly where you need. And I said this about the GY HM200, and it applies to the LS300 as well. It's basically a big camera shrunk down, and that's why I love it, because when you're shooting, you've got to be able to get to all the controls. You don't want to work your way through menus. You've got to move quick, you've got to get the shots, and that's really what matters. Now the focus assist on this camera is absolutely fantastic, and it's also really important that it works brilliantly, because when you're working with a super 35mm sensor, you got that really shallow depth of field, and even a tiny little bit out of focus, and it shows in the final result. You want to be bang on with the focus, and I have to say this focus assist is one of the nicest I've used. It does work like a lot of the other ones out there. You press the focus assist, it will give you a blue outline, a red outline, you choose the color, and that's fine. So you actually have a peaking control. But what is so wonderful about the focus assist is you've got a little joystick, and when you actually choose the focus assist with expanded focus. It punches in on the image, and then you can use the joystick to actually move onto the area that you want to see in focus. Because when you punch in on the image, it might be that you're filming a talking head, you're doing an interview, and it punches in and you're looking at part of his arm. Well, really you want to see the center of his face, so you just use the little joystick and that will move you onto the bit you want to see, and you can get absolutely critical focus, and that matters tremendously. Like I said, a tiny little bit out on the focus, it ruins your shot. Bang on, you got what you need. Other things that are really nice, and I said much of this in my HM200 report, the battery system. Stick a battery on, you get like 3.5 hours. It's absolutely ridiculous. 2 batteries will get you through an entire day. I've got other cameras, bigger cameras, that are really power hungry, and you know, they have their advantages as well, but in terms of power, you end up carrying a lot of batteries around, and you got a lot more charging to do in the evenings. This 2 batteries, like I said, will get me through a full day. If you need extra, have 3 batteries, you're completely set. Something that I haven't tested on this camera, which I'm very interested in, is you'll see if you choose to use micro four thirds lenses on the camera, you can set the aperture, autofocus, and effectively you will have a lens that communicates to the camera. And we can see, looking inside here, that those are the electronic controls. Now, the way JVC have done the mount on this using a micro four thirds mount is actually a little bit unusual, and I applaud JVC for having the guts to go a little bit non-standard. What you've got is you've got a super 35mm sensor and a micro four thirds mount. Micro four thirds as a lens mount lets you put just about any lens onto the camera. There's, you know, a whole lot of lenses that you can get adapters from micro four thirds to another system. You can put Nikon on, you can put Canon, you can put Leica, but the lens mount is incredibly strong, and not only that, it's incredibly versatile, so you can put lots of different lenses on. If you do want to use micro four thirds and get the correct focal length, there's a menu setting on this camera, and you can go into it and it will take a crop out of the lens, so you don't need to use the full super 35mm sensor. Maybe you want to use super 16 lenses. I'm using full frame lenses. I'm not using cinema lenses, which are super 35. I'm using photographic lenses, which are full frame 35. They work great. You get beautiful images out of them. And it's not just that it's a good, versatile lens mount. It's a really strong lens mount. Now, I put on my big lenses. I put on this one, which is my wonderful Nikon 80 to 400mm lens, which is a lens I absolutely love. And if I take off the one I've got on now, which is a 17 to 35, put on the big lens, like I said, it's a good strong lens mount. Now that's fantastic. I've been told before that if your lens actually has a ring around it and a place to put the plate, that you should really mount the lens as well. But I see no indication of that being too heavy for this camera to hold. So we've got what's actually quite a small versatile camera with this tremendous versatility for putting different lenses on. And that's why, for me, this is such an incredible camera, because I do a lot of shooting all over the world. Sometimes I need to put cameras into a bag and look like a tourist. If I put this camera into a bag, take off the big lens, put on something like this, which is a Nikon 50mm 1.2, which is a wonderful lens. I mean, really, I don't think too many customs guys are going to think I'm doing something serious. And if I want to be a little bit more discreet, as you can with the HM200, you can take off the handle, and that's what you got. And you just look like you're a guy coming in to do some filming, but really you have a powerhouse of a camera in your hands. And I mean that sincerely. As far as I'm concerned, this competes with a lot of the bigger cameras I've been using. Now, of course, there's room for many different cameras in what we do, and I'm not saying this camera will do it all, but for what I need, I'd say it does pretty much most of what I need to do, and that's why I think it's fantastic. don't want to talk too much because really, I've only been using this a number of days. I feel I've got to grips with it very quickly. I'm very happy with the camera. I love the feel in my hands. It's half the price of some of the competing models out there. I'm not saying that the competing models don't actually do more. There's other cameras that might be competition to this, but like I said, this one's the small one. This one's all in your hands. A real powerhouse, interchangeable lenses, big sensor, full professional audio. That's what matters to me. One final point, the codec. Same as the GY-HM200, records 4K at 150 megabits a second. You can do HD at 50p, 60p, 24, 25, 2997, that's all fine, that's great. However, the codec, certainly what I'm recording, which is .mov, which integrates beautifully with Final Cut Pro 10. You just put your card in, take the files in, your .mov files work straight away, no transcoding, nothing, it's all fine. However, if the H.264 encoding 4K at 150 megabits a second doesn't give you the full amount of information that you might need, maybe you've got a particularly fussy client, maybe you're shooting a high-end commercial, maybe you just want more information to work with, then you have the SDI on the side. You can take HD straight out the side, uncompressed, and you can also take the 4K over HDMI. And then you take something like this wonderful device, I'm sure you know what that is, that's the Atomos Shogun. Just put that onto the camera and then connect it up. If you want to do 4K to the external recorder, you got to do it over HDMI. That's just the way the system works. If you're doing HD, connect it up with the SDI cable and then you get the full ability to trigger on and off. And the Shogun is a wonderful, wonderful device. Now what I love so much about the Shogun, the fact that it's a full-blown recorder to broadcast spec, 4K, RAW, HD, which could be 1920, 1080 or 720, take your pick, it basically does everything. It's a wonderful, wonderful monitor. I'm as excited about this device as a monitor as much as I am about this device as a 4K recorder or a RAW recorder. Now, of course, my opinion on that might change the minute I need to output RAW from a different camera than this. This doesn't do RAW. I'll suddenly fall in love with the Shogun all over again because of that ability. But certainly for what I've been doing this week, it's just a stunning monitor. I really am taken with its monitoring abilities. So it really depends what your needs are with the Shogun. Some people will get excited because it does 4K. Some people will be excited because it's a great monitor. Some people love it for all reasons. The Shogun is a very useful device and a very useful addition to the camera. And of course you can put it on an arm and position it elsewhere. I've just got it on a very simple little mount there. So I'm very excited about the Shogun because it gives you a lot of facilities. First of all, if you're not happy with the internal codec on the camera, which is compressed, it's H.264, certainly for .mov, which is what I'm working with, if I want to bump that up to a much higher standard, put on the Shogun and you will get ProRes recording onto the Shogun, which is a lot more information to work with. So if you want to do high quality keying, if you just want a higher quality standard of the image overall, you take it into a broadcast environment, you may need to bump up the quality. So the facility is there, out the HDMI for 4K or out the SDI for HD. Now the monitoring on the HM200 and the LS300 is exactly the same. You've got the screen on the side, you've got the eyepiece to work with, the electronic viewfinder. But what JVC have given us here is a very workable system for your monitoring. This electronic viewfinder, I certainly get results from it. By the time you use the focus assist, you look at it through the eyepiece, you can get what you need. I'm not struggling with it. I'm getting good results. And if you want to spend a lot more money, well, you can buy a better EVF. Or, in the case of what I've got, I use the Shogun, and to me, it's just stunning monitoring, so I love it. So I'm not very critical about this camera at all. I'm actually very excited about it. I love the fact I've got the professional audio. I love the fact I've got interchangeable lenses with a micro 4/3 mount, which is a very strong mount and a very versatile mount, so I can put pretty much whatever lens on that I want. I love the fact that I can shoot 4K. I love the fact that it's portable. And not only that, I love the results. So to wrap up, let's watch some pictures. You can determine for yourself just where this camera fits in. As far as I'm concerned, the images are really good. I have to say one more thing just before I say goodbye, which one thing that totally impresses me about this camera, it comes down to the color science. A lot of camera manufacturers talk about color science. What does that mean? It's the look, it's how it looks. But on this camera, the images have a beautiful contrast between the dark areas of the scene and the lighter areas of the scene. There's this beautiful fall off that happens between black and the brighter portions of the image. And you'll see what I mean in some of these images. It's just exquisite as far as I'm concerned. So what we've got with all these cameras on the market at the moment, it's like they're different film stocks now. Now you may pick up this camera because it's portable and it gives you a certain look. You may pick up another camera because you like the look from that one and it works in a different way for you. But really, like I said, it's quite like film stock. Back in the old days, we'd have Kodak, we'd have Fuji, we'd have Agfa. Well, now we have different camera manufacturers with different looks to their images. And the images that you get from the different cameras, like I said, it's like film stock to me. Take your pick, what look do you want? Which camera do you like the way it works? And how portable is it, or how nice is it in your hands, or is it suitable for the sort of production? Or the client demands, if a client has a demand on what you're shooting. But really, it's different looks, different lenses that you can use on the camera. So I said a lot, I probably said too much. I'm going to stop talking. You can watch some pictures and see in your mind where this camera actually shapes up in terms of the look and the quality. I know what I think, I told you that. Let's finish with some pictures.